Okay, if everyone's ready, by my clock I have 1:30 and we're ready to begin. I hope you're able to see my PowerPoint. I also sent it to you in as an attachment with the invitation. I know the weather has really caused us some problems with getting to have this Student Senate session. But we're going to just go forward with it today. I know several districts have texted me and said that they had to dismiss school early, but thankfully we were able to provide each Student Senate member and majority leader with an electronic device that will allow them to join these virtual sessions from home if you have internet connectivity. So we are just going to go forward with our meeting today, and I am recording it, and we'll be able to post it to the hauler, the Student Senate hauler, as soon as we finish today. But we have quite a bit of information that I want to cover and just touch base with each of you. All right, so we're going to use this as an introductory time, and rather than doing that verbally, if you could just type into the chat box your name and the name of each person in the room with you, and then the district and school where you're joining from, and that way we can look and see who we have. We can also start our video, and each group could just take a minute to introduce themselves, but if you type it in, I can save it and archive that, and then we have a record. We'll use that as like a sign-in sheet, if you will. So just we're going to go ahead and go forward as you're typing and introducing yourselves as to who has joined this session. So thank you for signing in, if you will. All right, so what we're going to talk about here for the next couple of minutes is just a review of what we participated in and what the Student Senate was involved in doing the first semester. Now, again, this meeting was supposed to have been conducted in January, but because of the weather, we were unable to do it. So the review of the first semester, of course, we had our induction ceremony, and everyone chose a subcommittee to be a part of during the induction ceremony, and we took on our initiatives with the oath that we gave that we would create a plan in our district to create better school culture, not only in the high school in which you're currently attending, but also other high schools in your district as well as middle schools. We're looking at how can we build that school culture and make the entire student body feel important and feel like they have a purpose and a meaning there in your building. And just in speaking with some of you, even though we haven't done the review of the Student Senate plans each month like we did last year, some of the ideas and the initiatives that you've told me about that you've implemented in your school as far as school culture could certainly be replicated across the region in any school district, but some of them are just fantastic. So your Student Senate plan, of course, you include school culture, and then we include the educational component, which is how do we improve attendance, behavior, and academics. And some of those school culture activities cause students to want to come to school more, so your attendance will improve. Some of those school culture activities cause students to be more academically focused, as well as to improve their behavior. So since the first semester, each school or each district Student Senate group were given the charge to create that Student Senate plan that revolved around school culture, the education components, as well as community service. How are we not only trying to improve the school culture within the school walls, but what are we doing in our community to engage our students in community service so that we can talk about service leadership and making our community a better place as well. So Those plans, hopefully, everyone has theirs nailed down, what their initiatives were, and you're in the process of the implementation of your Student Senate plan. Now, a couple of things that I want to make sure that I remind you of. That Student Senate plan is supposed to be posted to the Student Senate hauler from each district. It's important that you do that because remember last year, each month we heard from each of you on what you were doing with your plan. Well, we're not hearing from each of you this year, so you have to post into the hauler not only what your plan is, but then pictures and a brief synopsis or overview of the projects and activities that you have been implementing as a result of the plan that you've written. So let's not forget the Student Senate hauler. It's very important. And majority leaders, you lead this in making sure that when those school culture activities around behavior and attendance and academics and community service activities are taking place, that they're posted both in picture and in written word to the Student Senate hauler. That is the core of what our Student Senate was organized to do, is to build leadership capacity in their school and in their community, in their state, and then in the nation. And we began last year focusing very much so on our school and our local community. This year we have branched out from our school and our local community to tying the region together and doing some regional and statewide initiatives. And so then our hopes are for years 3 and 4 of the Appalachian Renaissance Initiative funding that we will be able to reach out globally, as well as our focus on our school, our community, our region, our state, and so on. So make sure you post to the hauler. I'm not seeing nearly as many posts as we need to be seeing, since we're not hearing from you about the implementation of your plan. At this time, does anyone have anything that they would like to say or ask about the development of that plan and the implementation of that plan and post into the hauler? I will also say, and we talked about this in our student induction ceremony, and you were given this information in the handouts, once that plan is confirmed and developed by the majority leader and the Student Senate members, that plan was supposed to be presented to the site-based council at your school, as well as your local Board of Education. And we do want you to document that both in pictures and writing and post that to the hauler. Because if we don't take that plan in front of the site-based councils, as well as the local Board of Education, we may not have their support. They may not be aware of what is in your plan or how they could support it. So make sure that you have presented your plan to the site-based council, as well as the Board of Education. Also, another component in that plan is reaching out to middle schools and the other schools in your district. And that happens in a variety of ways. Some districts have a county-wide leadership group. And I'll use Pike County for example. There are 5 high schools in Pike County, and so they have representatives from each of those schools that come together on a regular basis and discuss issues that are common among all schools, and then their plan is implemented throughout each of those 5 high schools. Over in Jackson, we had a group that joined their middle schools and their schools together through the Mondo board, through Skype, and had monthly sessions or regular sessions. So however you connect with the other high schools and middle schools in your district to implement some of those school culture initiatives, and then the academic initiatives as well as the community service initiatives, it's totally up to you, but we just want to hear from you, and we want it to be documented on what you're doing, because what you're doing might work very well in another district. They may be struggling with how to reach out to all of their schools. So it's important that you post to the Student Senate hauler about those meetings and how you're getting other students in other schools involved, and how you're communicating clearly with both them and the site-based council as well as the Board of Education. All right, so congratulations to all of you, and thank you so very much for your work at the Promising Practices. You represented the ARI Student Senate very well, in both on the stage and around the arena floor and in the sessions as facilitators, and I was just very proud of you and the work you did, and many people noticed how efficient you were and what a good job you did. We've been having some work-ready community meetings in different districts around the region, which means that Student Senate members are taking a part in trying to help communities get a work-ready status, meaning that big corporations or businesses that are looking for a place to bring their business will take a closer look if you have been given that work-ready status. So many Student Senate members in several districts are working to try to help their community reach that status by achieving the goals that are set forth by that work-ready community. So just a little shout-out to McGoffin County. I joined those girls I guess it's been a month or so ago at their first work-ready community meeting, where many business leaders from their community as well as educators were there, and they came together to try to begin developing the plan, and the girls participated and were involved and gave some very good information from a student perspective, which again is the whole purpose of Student Senate, is to let students' voices be heard. You have wonderful ideas, and we just want to make sure that you're heard and heard in a right way to get your ideas out to the public. Additionally, I see Jim Tackett is on with us today, and he's been leading the initiative with the Imagination Library implementations, and I know over in Middlesboro we had some Student Senate members that participated and kind of helped out with the Imagination Library meetings, and so I just want to say that there are more of those coming up. And Jim, would you like to speak for just a second about where those next Imagination Library meetings are going to be, so that Student Senate members can mark their calendars and then reach out to you via email to see how they can participate and help with the Imagination Library meetings?
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay. I will take just a couple minutes. As we speak, and weather has obviously caused some scheduling challenges, but in the next couple of weeks, we will be working with folks in several of our counties, and we have 3 completed, but we have probably 8 or 9 that will be, these events will happen in March and April. Quickly, for those of you, if we have Breathitt County folks on, that date has already been set for April 26th. Several of the other counties that we have pending meetings are in Johnson, in Owsley, in Pike, McGoffin. So we have several more, and even ones I haven't mentioned that will be up and coming. I will post those to the holler, and also let Kelly know too. But any of you are welcome to email me at jtackett, Tackett, at center, CENTER, tech, TECH.com. And I will let you know and give you updates as to when those events will happen in your local communities. For example, the Floyd County one we had in December, we had about 150 folks who swarmed us initially, so it's often nice to have folks that can help register people once they get there. So look forward to having you all join those events, and then additional things that will be forthcoming in the next few months once we start getting folks registered in each county.
Great. Thank you so much, Jim. And I put Jim's address, or his email address, in the chat box, as well as the Breathitt date, and then the other districts that we're looking to take those Imagination Library activities to as well. So That having been said, we're going to move on down to our subcommittee work, and Kyra Hughes and January Moore did a fabulous job at KYA representing the ARI Student Senate with their bill, and I look forward to Kyra's leadership next year and some of the other junior Senate members this year that will be seniors next year joining Kyra, and we'll bring on a few more junior members as well. And we have a really good idea for a bill that we want to move forward with next year with KYA, but I'm going to wait just a little bit and let Paul Green speak to you about that in just a moment. Additionally, our community problem-solving group currently consists of Rebecca Pritchard from Middlesboro and Taryn Sick in Pike County. There are winter gardens that were a result of last year's community problem-solving project from Pikeville Independent School District. They did a winter garden, and this year we're expanding that throughout our region, because healthy food means healthy people and sustainability, and as far as a way of life, how can we engage other groups within our community on how to create a school garden and then how to make healthier food choices. So this year we're entering community problem solving with that particular project as just a beginning year, not to compete, but just collecting our evidence and our data, and then next year, if you so choose, we can compete with that community problem solving project. But we also have another community problem solving project that, again, Paul Green and Willa Johnson can give you a few more details on a little bit later, but that leads us right into this economic development subcommittee. The Power Plus proclamation signing over in Letcher County or in Whitesburg happened in December, and we had several of our Student Senate members that were able to attend and get that message out. So we certainly appreciate those that were able to attend. And along those lines with Power Plus, you know, there is money that's available to come back here to Eastern Kentucky to create some, well, economic development, if you will, to create jobs for people that are out of jobs. So that's a real problem, and that could be an excellent community problem-solving project, and so we'll talk some more later to those that are interested in participating in that particular community problem-solving activity. And then Student Voice, well, our Student Voice members were very well represented at the Power Plus program, and there's been lots of media and information out about Power Plus. But Student Voice Group, any information that any of you have from any district that you would like to have publicized or let more people know about it, you can contact our Student Voice Subcommittee or Tanya Turner, but it's spelled Tanya Turner, and so she helped lead the Student Voice Committee. All right, moving to our next slide. To do. What is it that we're supposed to do? A little reminder of what I just talked about earlier. Create your Student Senate plan. Refer to the documents that I gave you at the induction ceremony, as well as what I had emailed to you. You know, develop that plan for your district, for all the schools in your district, as well as the middle schools. So how we can help this leadership or these leadership skills reach more students. And then post that plan to the Student Senate Holler, post any pictures and overviews of projects that you're currently implementing within the plan to the Holler, and submit the budget to me for approval. We don't necessarily want to submit those budgets to the Holler, just send those to me individually. And just remember, don't include gift cards or iTunes cards or rent of any kind. And if you do put incentives into your budget, we don't want it to be over a third of the budget. And remember to use some of your budget for any travel back and forth to the Action Research Summit, as well as the Promising Practices Summit, and so on. All right. Let me back up just a second. I think, Tanya, did you send something a message. Let me see if I can find it. If you want to just speak on whatever your message was, we're going to open the floor up for any initiatives that have been going on in particular school districts that maybe I don't currently know about, but you would like to just take a minute or two to speak about. We had 5, 6, 7 districts that I had sent in an email earlier that I haven't heard from. So if you want to speak about something that's going on in your district at this time, we're going to allow just 4 or 5 minutes to hear from other districts. But Tanya and I think Ashley's also posted a message here, and both of those gals were on the Student Voice Subcommittee for the Student Senate. So, ladies, if you would like to speak to what you're typing about, you're more than welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay. Well, Ashley should definitely and I think if Mackenzie's on, they can.
Yeah, I'm here. Me?
Yeah, you all should definitely share anything you want about what happened at the Power Plus hearing. The Student Voice Committee, which is Fletcher, Jackson, and Carlin, they did an amazing, terrific job planning that whole event and getting media out and then holding a press release. And there's still media rippling out about that event. They did a great job, and it's definitely related to economic development as well, but I'm not sure who is in that committee. Anywho, you all, actually, if you want to post that WIMT video to the holler, that would be terrific.
Okay, I will. I'll still have the link somewhere saved, so I can post it. I'll just have to find it again.
And then in the last couple of weeks, you all may have saw that Hal Rogers actually introduced a Reclaim Act, which will help implement the federal budget adjustments that the Power Plus plan impacted. So there's just lots of reasons to celebrate and be really proud of yourselves. So congratulations.
Okay, great. Ashley and Mackenzie, would you like to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the communication work that you've been doing around Power Plus or any other Student Senate initiative?
Like, do you want us to speak about, like, what happened at the press release? Like that type of thing?
You could, or in additional ways that you've gotten information out to people about that particular initiative or any other initiative. Because I know you guys created like a chat group and group name, was that?
Yeah. This isn't a part of Power Plus, but as you all know, the press release was in Letcher County, so Kylie and I were both there. And shortly after, our judge came up to us because we were like the last student senators there, and he asked us to get involved in some other projects in the community. And it was a few Mondays ago. I know we had a snow day, but I'm not sure exactly like what day it was. We attended a meeting on making Letcher. It was I don't know how to word this. It was like with a bunch of people from like the Board of Education and stuff, and we were like student representatives, showing that it was basically just trying to get Letcher County listed as a like a progress school, I think. And so we got to be involved in that and bring some of our ARI work into that setting.
That's great. Fantastic. So oftentimes a presentation at one event can lead to other opportunities. So fantastic. Do we have any other district that might like to speak about initiatives that are taking place within their county or schools?
Kelly, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can.
This is Noel. Okay.
Hi, Noel.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine. Noel from Johnson County.
Yeah, sorry. And I think we've got both Michael Hamilton and Olivia Burchett on with us here, too. I just real quick wanted to discuss we're once again doing a collaboration project with Paintsville, and I don't think Brian is on, but I know he's had some issues there with his family.
Right.
But anyway, this year, last year we worked in conjunction with the Kiwanis and Rotary and local government to try to look at recreation in the area. But this year we changed our focus and are working with the Johnson County Public Library and trying to come up with ways that we can try to reach out to the young people of Johnson County at all age levels, from pre-K to elementary age through middle and then high school, and trying to come up with strategies where we have two school districts in the same county and we typically don't get to work together very often. It's a unique opportunity, but the public library serves everyone, so this is the first time that there's ever been any real effort to make that type of connection between the public library services and all the great resources they have and both school districts. So of course, Jim already brought up the Imagination Dolly Parton Library, and we are getting ready to do a meeting with them. The public library is going to be the main, portal for getting that going. But both school districts and our student centers are going to work together on that. And I'll go ahead and let Michael, if you or Olivia want to add anything real quick, you all could discuss what we talked about with the upper grades, and they had some really good ideas on things we can do along with the Paintsville Student Senate.
Can you hear me?
Great. Yes, we can. We can hear you well.
Awesome. So we, like last year, we kind of looked around Paintsville to see an area that wasn't being utilized to its full potential, I guess. And so this year, with the ideas coming from the Imagination Library, we kind of honed in on our public library. It's a great piece of infrastructure, and we feel like it can be utilized in a greater way for both school systems. And so, like Noel said, we decided to work in conjunction with Matt and Susanna from Paintsville, and we had a meeting with the program director at our library. It's been a few weeks back. We've had so many snow days and snow weeks, it feels like, that we've been put back a little bit, but hopefully we'll be able to get back on track with that in the next coming weeks. But we sat down and we discussed ways that we could service every child from pre-K through senior year. And we want to try to implement a series of programs. We're not going to get it all done this year, but we want to steadily introduce programs to service pre-K, elementary, and then middle and high. And with that, we kind of discussed, for pre-K in the Head Start age group, the Imagination Library is a great tool, a great resource that we want to bring in. And the public library thought that was awesome, and I think they may have already seen and heard about that. So they were already ready and really willing to work with us on that. And there are a few benchmark assessment programs for elementary school and primary grades that we've kind of been collecting some data on. But a really huge part of this idea that we're trying to develop, actually Susanna Goggins from Paintsville brought it up, and we all thought it was a great idea, was some type of ACT, SAT prep program in person at our library. Because we have plenty of room in our library to house a class, a prep class, and we think that would be a great central location to service not just Johnson County, but the surrounding counties. Because, we all have to take it, we all have to improve our scores, and in Eastern Kentucky, we aren't serviced as well with those higher intensity standardized test prep courses. They're available to more metropolitan areas, but we thought if we could bring in a group of tutors for a certain amount of time for a class, for a prep class, that would be a great way to service our high school age and even middle school age. It's never too early to start working on that and preparing for that, because it is such an important part of the college decision-making process. So we kind of talked about that, and even having access to prep books and workbooks in our library. We have a few, but if we could get updated versions and continually get those in so that our kids and our students have the latest and greatest in prep resources, then we think that that is one of the best ways to utilize our library for, concrete improvement, something that's going to definitely guide you in the right direction and help with plans later on. So that's the first leg. There are other things that we're going to implement later, but we really want to get those that ACT emphasis in here, and even using the library as just a general study area. In different places, there are places where kids can meet outside of school to study for tests or to work on group projects, and our library is a great place for that. It's centrally located, and it has great meeting rooms with technology already there for you to use. So we're trying to work a way to organize a way to use that outside of school and after school as a way to bring the community together and students from both schools to a place where we can focus and study.
That's an awesome idea, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing, and just the collaboration between Johnson County and Paintsville Independent is just really a good model to look at for those of you that have independent school districts and then a county district as well. And then what better way to involve students rather than, looking toward ACT, something that's going to help the entire student body and help them to obtain a better score than possibly scholarships. And so that's a fabulous not only community service, but school culture as well as academics. That's just the entire gamut right there in your project. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I'm really torn about not hearing from each of you each month regarding these initiatives that you're implementing within your Student Senate plan, because I don't want it to cause it to not be as important, because that is truly what your position is to do. And all of you have such good ideas and have implemented some fabulous initiatives, which is what this slide is titled, fabulous initiatives in your schools and districts, and I always enjoy hearing about them. And then when we hear about them, other districts might want to replicate them as well. So thank you very much for sharing that information with us. And if you could post some pictures of implementation and just a little overview to theholler.org so that we can all hear from you on what's taking place.
Got it.
So
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Is there any other district that is interested in sharing some fabulous things that are going on?
Hello, Kelly. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Who are we talking to?
This is Kelsey Cole. This is McGoffin. I have Emily here with me. Sorry if you hear some background noise. We're in the library right now. But we're really excited about some of the things that we're doing here with Student Senate McGoffin County. There's been a lot of talk about work-ready communities and so forth. And one of the things that was the requirements was having so much of a percentage of your population to have an associate's degree, right?
Right.
Recently, KCTCS's budget in the state budget has been cut significantly, and there's a campaign that they are launching in order to petition the governor and state legislatures to not cut their budget, and in fact, give them a little more appropriation. And this is something that is really important to Emily and myself. First of all, because KCTCS offers college classes at our high school, and so it is something that will affect our high school. And not only will it affect our high school, but potentially so many others in our community. I know of some friends I have right now who go to Big Sandy, and they went to Big Sandy instead of going away for college because it was cheaper on them and they could afford it more. And excuse that, please.
That's okay. We know you're in a school setting, and so, it's okay.
But anyways, so we decided to become involved because it is something that is so important to both of us. And our local economy is important to both of us. And without Big Sandy and KCTCS, we feel like our economy will suffer. And we won't be without them, but it will not be as near as affordable as it is now. And that will certainly affect the accessibility to many of the members of our community. And so right now I am sending a link in the chat that I will post the holler later. If you guys want to help us out with this, there's a petition to sign that we sign ourselves to help the Fuel the Force campaign, and we're also promoting that in our school and our community. And we plan to do more with that later on. But besides that, we started a student newspaper at our school. It's been going since about October, and we've done some pretty neat things with that. I don't know if you guys know what a meme is, but it's like this thing on the internet. People do it. It's usually like a funny picture, and then it has like a joke or something in words on it. And we've been having one of those just about every week. And some of the memes have like student and teachers together, and they'll have like a joke on it. Like one of them has like our calculus teacher on it, and a kid who doesn't really come to school all that often. And it says, the limit to our swag does not exist. That's a calculus joke. But we have things like that. And now that the student who was in the meme, he reads the newspaper every week because he was in it that one time. He asked me, he's like, you should make me student of the week. But we really, we're excited about the memes and stuff because it does engage students more because it's something that they can relate to. And we also have other articles, like we have someone write horoscopes because, some of our students are interested in that. But we had an article once about, why it's important to study science, or, why you should have the motivation for that. And we also have we have a story running called The Game of Knowledge. And it's got a lot of our teachers in our school in it, and it's just like a funny little story, and they have a new installment each week. So that's what's happening with our newspaper. And the great thing about our newspaper is anybody can send something in, so it's untailing what we will have on there from one week to the next. Different authors, different contributors, but we do have a couple who are tried and true, and they contribute something each week. We are very proud of our newspaper and how it has encouraged students to be involved. And we've also used the newspaper to encourage attendance. The last day of school before Christmas break, and nobody really wants to come. So we decided to have a ugly Christmas sweater contest that day with the newspaper. And our local Dairy Queen donated some gift cards, and we gave away a $10 gift card to a student who had the ugliest Christmas sweater, and a $5 Dairy Queen gift card to the teacher who had the ugliest Christmas sweater. And so that kind of encouraged students to come to school so that they could participate in the contest, because you couldn't participate unless you were at school that day. And we have other plans in the future for our newspaper. we have discussed and possibly getting some sponsors from our community and setting up some sort of scholarship from the newspaper. Of course, our editors and myself couldn't enter the scholarship contest, but it would be for senior students to enter and possibly get, it'd be like a small, like $100 thing. But that is our future plans. And that's what's happening in McGoffin.
Kelsey, thank you so much for sharing those stories with us. The community outreach for Big Sandy, that's an awesome initiative that you've undertaken, and I am really proud of you all for your involvement in that. In addition, at your school newspaper and the way that you're, building that school culture while also doing attendance initiatives and those kinds of things. Really good job, and I appreciate you sharing. A little bit later in our session, Cameron Wright was scheduled to talk to you about a similar initiative as to what Kelsey just referred to, about the budget, the state budget being cut to provide scholarships or funding for students beginning college. So he is in another meeting today, but he did tell me that he would email that information, so be watching your email for an email from Cameron Wright regarding an initiative that sounds very similar to what Kelsey's speaking of, but that would be an excellent place for our student senate members to become involved. Okay, so at this time, we're going to ask Paul Green and Willa Johnson to talk to us about the Power Plus plan, where there was a proclamation signing over in Whitesburg. And, those of you that weren't involved in that, I'm sure you're wondering, well, what is it? So I've just put a little bit of information from a flyer that we were given the other day that describes a little bit about the Power Plus plan. And then are there ways that other Student Senate members can become involved in this Power Plus initiative? So at this time, Paul Green and Willa Johnson are going to talk to you about the Power Plus plan and how you might be able to become involved. And then on the next slide, we're going to talk about how all of you might have an opportunity to become involved in a trip if you're interested. So, Paul, I'm glad you were able to join us.
Hey, Kelly, I thought I'd let Willa handle this. You on here, Willa?
Whoever.
So we had a few, we tried to schedule a few webinars with as many of you as we could earlier on in the year, or I guess late at the end of last year. But we had a group of students meet in Whitesburg, Kentucky. We've sort of talked about this already a little bit, but the Power Plus plan was a way to get Congress to send a bill in saying that there would be $1 billion that would be made accessible to communities affected by coal mining. And the money's been there for years, and there was just a lot of red tape to get to it. And so there was sort of a push to ask Congressman Rogers to put this bill before the House. And so we met, and as part of the Student Senate, you all signed the Power Plus pack there that you wanted it sent on. And a week later, $30 million was released to the state of Kentucky. And so that's amazing, and you all should really be celebrating that you had a hand in pushing forward some legislation. That's really, really important. And if you want to learn more, there's a website I'll send out later where there's pictures of you all on there. I believe it's powerplus.org, but I want to check and make sure. But so there's some work that has to be done still, and that would be interesting for us to talk about, and that is that the money can only be used to reclaim land that was mined, I think the date's prior to 1982, And so it's certain land that can be reclaimed. Part of the money can only go towards actually reclaiming the land, and then part of the money can go for economic development. So it took a lot of time to figure out how to get the money made available, and now it's going to take time to figure out how to actually use that money to our benefit. And so it'd be really interesting for us to have conversations about what are some ways that we can think through to ask for that money for our home communities. How do we want to see that used in our communities for our economies?
Thank you, Willa. That was...
Yeah, and we've just sort of been working on, you all had a lot of great press coverage from it. There has been some follow-up conversations with local officials. We're working on a podcast right now where we're going to highlight the work you all did there that day. And I know that not everyone was there, but this is something that is gaining national attention. And the White House actually emailed Tanya Turner and congratulated you all on being a part of this. So you all have had like a really huge platform all of a sudden, and we should really utilize that to the best of our ability. And so even if you weren't there that day and you want to get involved now, feel free to reach out to me, and we'll continue having that conversation.
And
Thank
guys,
you, Willa.
This is Paul Green. Just a few things about this. I really like what the Magoffin County kids said in their work there in Magoffin about trying to work to help with funding, and everybody knows that there's a lot of cuts in funding. But at the same time there's cuts, now we have all this new money potentially coming to our region. It's a little complicated in that we have to think about, we can't just get this money and spend it. Oh, it would be nice if we could just give that to our community colleges, or if we could use it to, for economic development projects. But I think we do have some potential here that we really need to work through as we move forward. And students, I think you guys are critical to this, because thinking about community problem solving, a lot of your communities have problems because you have these old coal mines that's just been abandoned. But now there's going to be all this money that you, on the other hand, you may have a project where we wanted to do a agriculture project, or we want to do a tourism project. And so if now we can maybe think about how can we take this abandoned mine and convert it into something that could be great, and there's going to be lots of money that could be potentially available for this. So I know it's kind of early in the process, and we ourselves here at KVEC and some of our leadership, our leaders really don't know how this money is going to be spent. But, what if we took an abandoned strip mine and we converted it into a new school or some type of workforce development center, which we partner with a community college, and maybe that could be an answer to some of their budgetary cuts. So again, just it's a way to think about things differently. But students, I think you guys could be a driver behind how this money can be spent in our communities.
Thank you, Paul. That was an excellent lead-in, and thank you, Willa, for the overview and letting all the students know about all the publicity that this initiative has received, or that the Student Senate has received as a result of this initiative. And thank you for leading that and making us aware of that opportunity. But yes, the community problem solving portion of this is huge. And so if students that are interested, and Michael, I wish you were not a senior, but those of you that are interested in moving forward with trying to lay out a plan of what could we, first of all, what does it take to reclaim that mine site? And secondly, what could we put there that would help with the economic development and making jobs available for our folks that are out of work? And thirdly, how could that reach across not only our state but our nation? So not only is that an excellent community problem-solving project, but it is something that realistically can be implemented in our region, and then possibly bring dollars to our region. And wow, wouldn't that be fantastic if our students were actually the ones that got that money from Washington, from the government here in Eastern Kentucky? That would be fabulous. So we'll talk a little more about that, but we're very interested in those of you that are junior Student Senate members this year becoming the leads on that community problem-solving project and what is it that we can do to put that plan in place. And then you will be bringing along the juniors that are upcoming for next year. And any seniors that are currently on Student Senate but won't be with us next year, if you would like to be a mentor to help work on that project, we would always welcome any of our Student Senate members to continue to work with us in the future. All right, that having been said, we're going to talk about March 1st. And Willa and Paul, would either of you like to speak to that?
So, yeah, I'll start, and Willa can fill in if I leave any gaps. Okay. So right now we are planning a trip to Frankfurt. This would be a combination trip of our area Student Senate members and also some of our students that are involved in the computer programming courses offered through the ATI. The purpose of this trip is kind of dual purpose. We actually, as some of you may know, some of our Student Senate members helped with a bill, House Bill 224, which was filed to give tax incentives to people that are interested in creating video games in the state of Kentucky. As many of you all are aware, with the SOAR initiative and somebody just said March 1st, state ACT date for juniors. And if that's so, we will change the date for this trip. So that's something that we'll clarify right now. This date can be changed, and I'm so glad that we knew this.
Yeah.
But we will adjust the date of ours because we know it's important and we want you all to not have to worry about this. You definitely need to be doing the ACT. But going back to the trip itself, we want to be able to go down and we want to talk to all of our local senators and representatives about how we feel like that the digital economy is the new economy of the 21st century and that Kentucky needs to be in the forefront of providing incentives to different groups and organizations, and hopefully someday our students that are currently taking coding classes, that they will be able to take advantage of incentives in our state to do these type of activities and create these type of things. So that's one reason for the trip, and the other reason is all of you guys need an opportunity to just meet all of your local senators and representatives, in kind of a unified fashion. So thinking about this trip, which now that we may be putting off, it probably will be a different day than March the 1st. Please be thinking about any of your ideas that you're working on or that would need support from the rest of your student senators and your Student Senate members, because this is a good time. So advocacy around the community college funding initiatives, post-secondary funding initiatives, any other initiatives that you have in your communities, all of these would be things that would be a great time for you guys to be able to talk to your representatives and senators about. So this trip will probably for sure happen, but that date, March 1st, we may look at an alternate date. Or I'll say we'll definitely look at an alternate date if that is in fact indeed the day for ACT juniors.
Great, Paul. Thank you. And like I said, if that is the date for ACT, we'll try to get our heads together and figure out another date and get that out there to you. But when we go, those of you that would like to go, I've typed in the message box about 4 different initiatives that would spark some good conversation with the legislators when we get there. And so I want you to embrace one of those initiatives, or it may be something else that you have that's specific to your district, to do a little bit of background research so that you can have a good, robust conversation with the legislators when we do get there. So more to come on our Frankfurt trip, and we'll get that information out to you. But each of those 4 initiatives that I typed in the chat box can also be used to develop community problem-solving projects. And I would love for those of you that do any kind of research on it, just to have conversations with the legislators to also think about possibly being on a committee to develop that into a community problem-solving project for our student senate members for next year. All right, so funds for college, as I said, that.
Kelly, one other thing real quick. We will be running buses whenever we get that new date finalized. We'll be running probably 2 buses from different parts of the region. We won't be able to go to every community, but what we hope to do is get within at least 20 to 30 miles of every school. So, looking at trying to run a bus, maybe one from Pike County and maybe one from Letcher County, and bring one through Hazard and one along the Mountain Parkway corridor, so students that you would be able to ride the bus to Frankfort, and it would probably be able to do several things in that day. So it'll be a full day, but again, we'll get all the details out to you once we've got them finalized.
Okay, and along those lines, your student senate budget can support some of that travel to those 2 particular buses, or a substitute for the majority leader if they want to attend that day, and so on. Just make sure you document it in your budget. All right, so Cameron is going to send some information about an initiative that the Pritchard Committee is currently working on, and all I know about it is it's about funding for college students that had been cut from the current budget. And so when he sends that information out, it could be something similar to what Kelsey spoke to about earlier, or it could be something totally different. But if it is totally different, then that would be a 5th initiative that we could potentially build community problem-solving project around, or develop a bill for next year for KYA. So, Kyra, listen to all 5 of these initiatives to see which, or if there are more of you than Kyra that are interested in possibly presenting one of these in bill form at KYA next year. Especially the one for the tax incentive for video game development. We definitely want that one to go to KYA. So we'll talk about that some more, and any of you that are possibly interested in participating in community problem solving or KYA around some of these initiatives. But look for an email from Cameron regarding this topic. Okay, so Action Research Summit's coming up. I want to just briefly touch on this because in March we will have our face-to-face meeting is when we're going to be going to Frankfurt. And then in April we will have another virtual meeting like this, similar to the one we had first semester, to organize ourselves as far as whose job will be what during the Action Research Summit. But it's almost an identical replication of what the Promising Practices was in the spring or in the fall, but we will have to change some jobs because there are more student projects that will be set up around the arena floor, the community problem solving, the entrepreneurial students. And so some of you that were the shushers up on the around the arena, we may have to relocate your jobs, or anyone that wants to change from a job that they did the first time, you're welcome to do that. You just need to email me and let me know. But I do want to say this. We had some speakers from the stage the last time. I'm interested in different speakers this time to talk about pretty much what we've just had here in our virtual session. What it was that we accomplished first semester, and then what our accomplishments were second semester, why leadership skills are important, maybe an overview of some school district projects. But we can talk about what we want to have in those speeches. But again, very similar to what we had in the fall, you would be welcoming everyone to the conference and letting them know what the student senate is and how we can assist them in that day as well as throughout the school year. So we'll talk about that more at our April virtual student senate meeting, which is so important for everybody to be on that session so that we can all know what we're supposed to do. So looking forward to that day, remember we had talent on the stage during lunch. If you know of someone or a group of someone from your district that has any kind of vocal or instrumental talent that you think would be a good prospect for the stage on the day of the Action Research Summit, I'm going to ask you to use your leadership skills to reach out to that person or people or teachers or whoever it may be to ask them if they would like to perform. And then once you have a list from your district, send it to me. In Harlan County, we're not putting any pressure on you or anything to get your voice singer on there for us, but, you know, that would be nice. Secondly, the art. You know, there were art displays around the arena that day. So reach out to students that, here's a good culture building activity. You know, most often we reach out to the art teacher and we say, do you have any art projects that you would like to put on display? But what about that student who's a fantastic artist that may not have an art class, or you may not have an art teacher in your school, but you know they're a good art student, or someone else? You know, can you put out a questionnaire? Does anyone have any art that they would like to have displayed or showcased? So we might be able to reach out to some of those students that we wouldn't normally be in touch with about their art, and so we would want to showcase that. So I'm asking you to look for art to display as well as talent for the stage, and then each district is in the process of creating a banner that represents your district and the landmarks and the people in your district that make it what it is. And so some art teachers and some students in your district are currently in the process of creating that. So I want you to take the initiative to find out who it is and how that's going, and I want you to stay in touch with them, and let's make that a good representation for each district there at the Expo Center. So, okay, Noel Crum, thank you. We appreciate Johnson Central Choir being willing to be on the stage, and we'll definitely put them down for stage performance. So, at this time, then, I think this is our last slide, and I have tentatively scheduled our next meeting for Friday, April 8th at 1:30. And just like today, we will try to record that session, but that session, it's so important that you join that, because that's when we'll be confirming who's going to be doing what at the Action Research Summit. So it's very important that you join that day if at all possible. So are there any other questions, or does anyone have anything to say? I'm very proud of you and us in that it is now 2:30 according to my clock, so we have spent 1 hour, which is what our intent was, not to go any longer. So you did a good job at being very concise. But are there any other questions? If not, thank you for joining, and please remember Student Senate Holler, Majority Leaders. Let's make sure that we get our information on there and our pictures of the implementation of your Student Senate plan, because building school culture, increasing attendance, increasing academics, as well as behavior, reducing behavior incidents in the schools, and reaching out to do community service is what we're about. And some of these community service and economic development things that you all have talked about today have just been phenomenal. I'm very proud of all of you, and I certainly appreciate all of the other folks that have become involved with Student Senate and helping us to move forward. Willa, Paul, Tanya, and Sandy Hogg Bernadette. Sandy has joined us, and I almost forgot until I looked over and saw that she was on there. Sandy and Willa might just want to speak for just a moment about an initiative that might be coming out next year, but the reason I want you all to know about it early, and there's not a lot of detail, but I want you to at least have it in your mind so that you can help us communicate this initiative. But Sandy or Willa, would you like to speak about the girls' initiative just a little bit?
Yes, can you hear me, Kelly?
I can.
Hi.
Yes, we can hear you.
This has been very enjoyable today, and I've gotten a lot of information that I didn't know about, so it's been very beneficial to me. But what Kelly's talking about, and Willa, you can jump in anytime because I think this has been Willa's baby for a long time. We want to start a girls running club and curriculum that it will run in the spring for an 8-week course and then followed up by a 5K run. And then we will also do the same thing in October. So this is wonderful for this student senate. If we'd love to have someone jump on, or all of you jump on board with us and make this one of your community solving problems and help us do 5K runs across the region. So we're very excited about it. We're in the planning stages right now. Hopefully we'll get it rolled out in August, the beginning of next school year. Well, did you want to say something about it?
Yeah, it'll be a program for middle. Sorry. It'll be a program for middle school girls, and we want to be able to connect. We want to be able to build more collaboration amongst girls. Sometimes we're really competitive. We want to break that down a little bit and really build each other up and support each other and be leaders in the work that we do. So we want to start young. And I say all that because one thing that will be really important with this is to connect younger girls to older girls who are in positions of leadership. And so it would be great to have your all's input in, one, building the program, and also, once it's up and running, to have you being one of the girls to mentor throughout, because it's half of the class will be about empowerment and leadership skills, and half will be about physical education and just, making healthier choices in our lives. So there's a lot of potential there, and so if any of you all are interested, we would love to have you on board for that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Willa. I appreciate you all sharing that, and I just thought it would be good to get that message out early so you can be thinking, student senators, about how you might be able to support that in your school district. All right, if there are no further questions, I'm going to conclude the session, and I will record. It has been recorded, but I will manage that recording and try to post it to the Holler. Sometimes the Holler doesn't cooperate with us because it's so large. It won't allow us to upload, but if not, we'll point you to a link over on YouTube with it. But anyway, thank you for joining. It's been a fabulous session. I appreciate all your attendance, and stay tuned for an email about when our trip to Frankfurt will be. Thank you again, everyone, for joining.